Is government doing enough to protect corruption whistleblowers? We asked this question ahead of National Whistleblower Appreciation Day this coming Saturday. Yesterday, I spoke to Athol Williams, who fled South Africa last year after giving damning testimony at the State Capture Commission on consultancy company Bain. He's currently campaigning in the UK for Bain to be banned in that country. Today, I'm going to speak to Wits Professor and former government communications head Themba Maseko. He's been calling for security of whistleblowers to be given a priority or made a priority. You remember, Maseko exposed irregular contracts with millions of rand between government and the controversial Gupta family. And that is why he was removed as the head of the GCIS. And after he left, well, some people said then the Guptas had a field day at the GCIS, and the evidence is there, was presented at the State Capture Inquiry. Mr. Maseko, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. Welcome to Today on eNCA. Are whistleblowers like yourselves pretty much out in the cold on their own currently?
Braden, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and good afternoon to your listeners as well. I think the point is very clear. As a whistleblower, you are completely on your own, no protection, no support. And in many of the cases, there's not even opportunities to make an income. So it is an important issue that I'm glad you're putting on the table today. So we face the risk. Many of the whistleblowers face the risk of, if you speak out, you face the risk of actually being exposed to all kinds of attacks from all unscrupulous individuals. Your family also does face some risks. So I think that this is an important issue that requires attention at the highest level of government.
Why is it that while we hear speeches being given, even by the likes of the president, about the valuable contribution that yourself and other whistleblowers have made, particularly in the State Capture Inquiry, the government does not seem to provide the assistance that you have highlighted, not once, not twice, several times, and some of your fellow whistleblowers have done similar?
I think that, government is actually dragging its feet because especially then we must bear in mind that, we're at an advanced stage now of getting the Guptas to return to the country. With the Zondo Commission being published, there's a real possibility that all those who were involved in malfeasance, stealing money from government, are likely to face prosecution, and whistleblowers may be expected to actually give testimony in a court of law. So if you don't give them protection, I think that we face the risk of many of the whistleblowers actually being reluctant to give testimony in court. And remember, all these allegations are just allegations, and unless they're tested in court through evidence being provided by whistleblowers, many of the cases may be at risk. So I think that it's an important issue that government needs to pay attention to as a matter of absolute agency. We need whistleblowers, more of them to come up, but those who've already spoken out need to be given some kind of support, which includes security. Many of them require psychosocial support. We know the pressures that many individuals experience. So I think that it's just a question of government not paying attention to this very important issue. And that's why I think programs such as yours are important, because you raise awareness about the state of affairs as far as whistleblowers are concerned.
Whose door would accountability for what you're saying in terms of supporting whistleblowers, should we be knocking it?
You see, I think that the Zondo Commission report itself does make the point about the need for protection. My wish is that it should have made even a much stronger point for whistleblowers to be protected. And secondly, I think that the head of state, the president himself, should be giving instructions to two key ministries. The first one being the Minister of Police, and the second one being the Minister of Justice, because essentially those are the people with a portfolio who could actually do something about the situation of making sure that whistleblowers are protected. But the call is also being made, I'm making the call to the private sector to also play some role, because if they support the move to fight against corruption, private sector needs to come to the party and find ways of supporting whistleblowers. But in the first instance, I think it is the ministries of police and justice who need to actually be called upon to actually do something about this important matter, especially at this phase when we're getting closer to many of the people who are involved in state capture may be prosecuted and appearing in court, and the role of whistleblowers becomes even more prominent, and therefore the need for security becomes important. So those are the parties, in my view, that can make a difference in this regard.
One of the aspects I've picked up, I've spoken to a number of whistleblowers before, but this week, as I said here on today, we're building up to the National Whistleblower Appreciation Day this coming Saturday, is some of the whistleblowers lost jobs. Some of them have been out in the cold. So even financially, there's been challenges of support. There's an issue of safety, but as you correctly say, there's also an issue of psychosocial support. The private sector can play a role. But what about some ordinary citizens like me, I mean, and many others who may want to assist? How do you think we as ordinary South Africans can be backing you up?
Look, I think that the whole country has a responsibility to support whistleblowers. Government, private sector, as I said, civil society, I think is playing its role in terms of putting the issue on the table and raising the importance of supporting whistleblowers. Individuals, I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of support from individuals who have come in my time of need to provide financial support. There are many of the whistleblowers whose kids cannot even afford to pay school fees, and they're losing their houses, they're losing their cars, and all of those kinds of things. But most importantly is the fact that private sector seems to be reluctant to give jobs to whistleblowers. So giving employment instead of just handouts is an important issue. Unfortunately, whistleblowers are still perceived as enemies of the state, and therefore private sector companies are reluctant to be seen to be associated or supporting whistleblowers. So I think that private sector, in my view, has a very important role to play as far as financial support is concerned. But individuals, if you know a whistleblower who's going through a very, very dire period, some kind of direct support could be, useful to people who are battling to put food on the table as we speak.
Yeah. Now, the safety issue, I'm just going to become personal for a short while. Are you feeling safe, especially because the Guptas now have been arrested, the two brothers, Rajesh and Atul Guptas, been arrested in Gupta. They've been arrested in Dubai. And yesterday, the government announced that it has now submitted officially the application to the authorities of the United Arab Emirates for their extradition in terms of the treaty that exists. And they've done so within the allocated 60 days. Are you feeling safe?
At this stage, I'm feeling okay. I have to worry about my family and make sure that they are safe. They're feeling okay as well. But unfortunately, this happens at a time when most South Africans are not feeling safe in their places of employment, at work, in their shebeens, as they're having drinks. So the issue of safety is an important issue. But for me personally, yes, I have to think about security as we get closer to prosecutions. It's something that most whistleblowers, as we're speaking here, must be worried about, because the day the NPA calls you up and says, we want you to be a witness in this particular case against the Guptas or some CEO of Transnet or whatever state-owned enterprise, then security becomes an important issue. But we're elevating the issue of security now because of the timing, but there's still psychosocial support. Many of the whistleblowers are going through depression. They need some kind of support that needs to be given to them. But personally, I'm worried about security. I'm thinking about it every single day, worried about security of my family as well. But it's a job that needs to be done, and I will continue to do what I've been doing.
We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and share your views, Professor Maseko. Finally, just your reaction, briefly, if you may, when you had the news yesterday that the process to extradite the Gupta brothers, Rajesh and Atul, from Dubai to South Africa is now at another step and is progressing in the right direction. What was your reaction?
I was very optimistic and quite excited about it. I think it's a good move. The only shortcoming is that the current process is with regard to particular cases in the Free State, the issue of the farm that they stole money from. But there are many other cases that are likely to follow. And I think that the Guptas need to be held accountable for all the wrong things that they did in Eskom, in Transnet, and all of those kinds of things. So I'm feeling optimistic. I think we're on the right track. And I welcome the move by government to complete the process of extradition so that they can come and face justice in the country. So I'm quite excited about the move.
Thank you very much for your time. I don't know if I'm too late, but I just want to congratulate you as well and wish you well in your new role as Professor Themba Maseko there and one of the institutions at Wits University. Of course, Professor Maseko is a former CEO for the Government Communication and Information Systems, GCIS, and that is a role that under which he came under pressure from the then former president of the Republic, as he told the State Capture Inquiry, Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma, to do business with the Guptas, and then he was removed because he refused to do so. And then he gave evidence at the State Capture, blowing the whistle on all the malfeasance that was then taking place at the GCIS.